Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll present with the Silver Soldier Anby build guide. Silver Soldier Anby is an electric attack S-rank DPS. The first, actually never mind, it was Harumasa. Yeah, never mind, my bad guys. Anyways, Silver Soldier Anby is a great electric damage dealer. She has a new type of damage which is called aftershock damage. Originally you might know this as additional attack, but the official name in English seems to be aftershock. So within this video, if you hear any additional attack, that is aftershock. Also, I will have a quick overview of what Silver Soldier Anby does. She is a very straightforward and simple to use character. So basically with Silver Soldier Anby, her special attack will mark an enemy with a silver star mark, and each stack of this charge applies one stack of white thunder to enemies, stacking up to 3 times. And when these marks are activated, you can use her special attack again when they have the white thunder on them to perform a special attack which will consume these white thunder stacks to trigger 1 additional aftershock damage. Also, if you do use her X special attack instead, which costs energy, you'll be able to apply 3 stacks right away. As for her core passive ability, Anby will deal increased damage to enemies with silver star mark, and when an enemy is marked with silver star, they will take additional crit damage from aftershocks. Do know that this additional crit damage from aftershocks should also scale off her own critical damage stat. As for her additional ability, when another character in your squad is a stun or support character, Anby critical rate will be increased. When Anby is the active character, the entire squad aftershock damage to enemies with the silver star mark is increased. Do know that Silver Soldier Anby has to be on the field to get this aftershock damage increase. And lastly, she also has a special attack Thunder Smite. When the additional damage from White Thunder triggers 3 times on the same enemy, a lightning strike will fall at the enemy location, dealing electric damage to enemies within the range. This damage, of course, is also considered aftershock damage. And lastly, we have our ultimate straight up damage stuff. You have enough decibels, you use it. But as you can see with Silver Soldier Anby, very straightforward gameplay. It's all about getting the stacks, consuming them, and repeat. That's about it. Very straightforward to play. Sometimes I wonder why did Harumasa not get this type of simple basic kit as a free character being given for free. But nevertheless, Silver Soldier Anby has it. And if you're looking for something that's simple to play and straightforward, this is pretty much the character to play. And now let's talk about main stats. But actually, before that, I would like to let you know that you can subscribe to this small channel. It's completely free of charge. Thank you for your support, smile. And now let's continue with the video. Let's begin with our main stats. Drive disc 4, critical rate. Drive disc 5, pen ratio, attack percentage, or electric damage. This stat will highly depend also on what type of team you're playing, what kind of buffs do you have. So for example, I have a lot of attack buffs within the team already, then attack percentage wouldn't be necessarily as useful, and you could go something like pen ratio instead. Drive disc 6, it's going to be attack percentage. She is a typical attack DPS, so this is the only option here you realistically have. As for her substats, it's going to be critical rate into critical damage, attack percentage, and lastly flat pen. Flat pen will be much more valuable if you already have drive disc 5 pen ratio, so you can get more of that penetration and end up doing more damage. However, if you still end up with some flat pen stats, even if you don't have pen ratio, I don't think it's end of the world. But at the same time, the highest priority would say it's definitely crit rate, because Silver Soldier Anby does get a bit of critical rate from her core skill. I believe it's going to be 14%. Also, critical damage is very important for Silver Soldier Anby. because her core passive, effectively, whenever any character within the team performs an additional attack and hits the marked enemy by Silver Soldier Anby, the critical damage of that attack will be increased based on Anby critical damage as well. That's why the more critical damage you have, the more damage she will do herself with her additionals, and also your entire team if you're using something like Pulchra or Trigger. That is why you want to have a lot of critical damage as well on her. Now let's talk about their drive disc set options. The best in slot is the new set within the same patch of where Silver Soldier Anby is coming out, which is 1.6. The two-piece set, it provides an additional attack and dash attack damage increase by 15%. This is obviously very useful for Silver Soldier Anby because she does have additional attacks. As for four-piece set, when additional attacks or dash attack hits an enemy, the user gains one stack of buff effect. Each stack increases the user attack by 4% and critical rate by 4%, lasting for 15 seconds. It can stack up to 3 times, and retriggering will refresh the duration. So you can effectively get 14% critical rate and 40% attack. So this is the set also which will allow you to get more critical rate for your Anby, so they will be able to push higher critical rate on her, assuming you will be able to get this set. But if you can get this set right away from crafting or something like that, you can use Woodpecker Electro in the meantime. This is a decent set as well. It provides 8% critical rate and various attack buffs increases, percentage that is, whenever you perform basic attack, dodge, counter, and so on. So this is something you can use in the meantime. There is also a second alternative you can use in the meantime, such as Thunder Metal. If you're playing Silver Soldier Anby with another electric character, for example, something like Chingy on her release, that is, plus something like Astraya, because Astraya doesn't really have strong anomaly application, so Thunder Metal will be quite consistent. However, if you're playing a team with solo Silver Soldier Anby is the sole electric user, then Thunder Metal as a placeholder set to use in the meantime is not something I would recommend. But generally, you do want to strive for getting that new set as soon as you can. As for two-piece options, Woodpecker Electro, it's an excellent, great option because it provides 8% critical rate. The higher crit you can get, the more consistent your Anby is going to be. The other options you can also use is something like attack percentage buff, such as Astral Voice. You can also use Branch and Blade Song two-piece for critical damage increase, or even electric damage boost from Thunder Metal is fine. Power Electro actually also can be interesting choice, especially if you're using pen ratio drive disc 5, so you can get more of that stat. But overall, I would recommend using whatever has the best substats until you get her best in slot 4-piece new set. And of course, even with that new set, you do want to aim for good substats. And of course, if you're using something like Woodpecker Electro in the meantime, you obviously can't use a two-piece Woodpecker Electro, then you can just use, like I said, Astral Voice, Branch and Blade Song, or Thunder Metal two-piece as well in the meantime. Now let's talk about her V engine options. The best in slot, it's of course going to be her signature V engine. It has a base attack of 713, 48 critical damage from the advanced stat, 30% critical damage increase from her passive, and also when the user hits enemies with basic attack, special attack, or additional attack, they gain one stack of this buff effect. Each stack increases the user critical damage by an additional 10% up to a maximum of 3 stacks, lasting 30 seconds. Each stack duration is calculated separately, and each move can also trigger this effect once. So you do need to do basic attack, special attack, and additional attack, all 3 of these things, to get all of these 3 stacks. And also, whenever you have 3 stacks, you will also gain a 20% electric damage boost. So effectively, Silver Soldier Anby V engine provides 108% critical damage. So this V engine is going to give you a lot of critical damage, which will make her do even more damage. But fortunately for Silver Soldier Anby, you do have other V engine options as well. I would argue that this is probably going to be the best free-to-play option if you have it. which is Mercato Desire. I am aware that not everybody has this V-engine necessarily. There are also some alternatives, but if you do have it, this is an excellent option for her because it does provide that nice 20% critical rate and also pretty good combat attack percentage buffs. However, if you do not have Mercato Desire and neither her signature V-engine, you can use something like Brimstone if you happen to have it as well. This V-engine will provide quite a lot of attack, so it's fine, but do know that then you will need to get a lot of critical rate from your sub stats. And if you don't have Brimstone as well, there is another option. However, unfortunately, this is not a free option. Let's say you don't have Mercato Desire nor Brimstone. Cannon Rotor can effectively provide 20% critical rate, so it can make it easier to build Silver Soldier Anby. It does provide a bit of an attack boost as well, not as much attack as Mercato Desire, but it's still something better than the next option I will mention. The next option is effectively if you're a free-to-play and you cannot get Cannon Rotor, you don't have Brimstone nor Mercato Desire. The last option is pretty much Starlight Engine. This V-engine at 5 copies, which is craftable, you will get a quite decent amount of attack percentage buff whenever you do a dodge counter or quick assist. So this is effectively the weapon you will have to use on Silver Soldier Anby if you have none other options. But if you do have Mercato Desire, great stuff. If you don't, I just hope you have something like a Brimstone, or perhaps you did buy the Battle Pass and already have Cannon Rotor. Otherwise, Starlight it is, I guess. Now let's talk about Silver Soldier Anby team options. New player-friendly teams is going to be definitely something like with Nicole. Nicole is one of the best A ranks in the game. She's also completely free, so you can easily pair up Nicole with Silver Soldier Anby, and the other option you can play in there is with Lucy. So Lucy, Silver Soldier Anby, and Nicole is a pretty good beginner core to play with. If you do like Pulchra, you can also play Pulchra instead of something like Lucy. However, as of right now, Pulchra doesn't seem to be that strong at all, and she's not gonna add that much to the team at all compared to Lucy and or Nicole. So for a new player, I would personally recommend right now, if you start with Silver Soldier Anby, to go for double support instead, or use some other stunners if you happen to have it. Something like Chingy, for example, should also work relatively fine with Silver Soldier Anby. However, I do not recommend pulling Chingy on a rerun for Silver Soldier Anby. Just if you already happen to have it, you can use it type of deal. Also do note for Nicole specifically that you will get diminished value from pen ratio, flat pen stats when paired with defense shred from Nicole, because you will ignore less defense when the enemy defense is already reduced. But even then, Nicole is still worthwhile using, so I highly recommend you use Nicole. As for premium teams, it's effectively going to be, of course, Silver Soldier Anby with Trigger and Astra Yao. So Astra Yao will be mentioned a lot in most of these premium teams because she does add quite a lot of buffs and stuff for Silver Soldier Anby. However, do know that it's very likely that in the near future we're going to get the support that's gonna be more focused for additional attacks or something like that, and if that's the case, that's probably gonna be her best teammate in the future. But as of right now, it's pretty much a lot of Astra Yao within her premium teams. So you can effectively run Astra Yao plus Silver Soldier Anby, and the turn slot is very flexible, such as Trigger, Nicole, or even Chingy. I will not be surprised to see that on Silver Soldier Anby release, a lot of players will be playing it either with Chingy or Nicole plus Astra Yao if they happen to have those characters. Also, if you do not have Astra Yao available or she's in another team, you can technically use Nicole instead. So you can go like Nicole Chingy, which should be fine for Silver Soldier Anby, or Nicole plus Trigger whenever Trigger comes out. But generally, the premium team is definitely going to include Astra Yao. Now also, let's have a quick section for Bangboos options. The best recommendation I would highly recommend to use is Snap. Even if you don't play double Stars of Lyra, doesn't matter, because this is just a heal. The damage boost itself is just an active skill, not an additional ability, so you'll be able to get it whenever you want. The damage boost is pretty decent. You can get 6.8% damage boost, up to 10% if you get 5 copies. It does effectively a 22-second cooldown with 3 charges, and you'll get it whenever you use quick assist, assist follow-up, or dodge counter. This is a pretty safe, easy to use options. You'll get more damage for Silver Soldier Anby, but if you don't have snap available, then you just use whatever you have. Something like plug book can also be an option if you do a double electric attribute in the team. However, if you do not have snap, you can basically use then whatever you have available. You can also use something like plug book if you have double electric, but it's not really an anomaly team, so I don't think it's gonna add up that much. You could also technically use something like Night Buff for a bit more attack buffs if you happen to have this Bangbo, but I personally don't like picking up the stars. It's quite annoying. I just prefer snap because it's very snappy, you know? You just get the boost just by playing normally. You don't have to do anything extra, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, this is pretty much for this guide. If you have any questions or anything you would like to add yourself, feel free to write it within the comments down below. I also do stream on YouTube/Twitch every single day. You can always drop by if you just wanna yap with me, smile. And of course, if you liked the video, feel free to give it a like. If you didn't, you can dislike it, I guess, smile. So yeah, that's about it. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video. Ciao.